What's up, fellow gamers? Phreak here with my third ever Path of Exile video. I saw some misconceptions around Tornado, and I wanted to clear them up because as soon as I saw that ability, my mind just said, oh, okay, it's basically a more damage modifier aura. Like, it's basically the Exerting Warcry thing all over again. The point of Tornado, as far as I can tell, is you throw damage into it, and then it just does more damage for you. This you can see on the screen. We're not going to change much. Is the calculations. So basically, the base damage of the tornado itself is pretty much irrelevant, at least in any sort of high investment build, so we're ignoring it for this. So let me walk you through what's going on in this calculation. So for now, ignore the hit per second cap because it's not useful right now. Based on the gems that were revealed in the most recent news post, the primary duration of the ability is 1.5 seconds, secondary duration is 4 seconds. Now, we'll start with the second half. So over the course of 4 seconds, it's going to deal 160% of the damage you dealt to it. It's going to do 1.6x your damage because it, reflects 10% of the damage it took, and it ticks that 16 times, which is 4 times per second over 4 seconds, aka 16 ticks of 10%, aka 1.6x. Now, the 1.5 second duration is the part you care about, not the max of 20 hits. The max of 20 hits is just a cap on high attack speed builds. What you're really trying to do is snapshot 1.5 seconds of your DPS and then use that to then shove in another 1.6 times that number. And so here's the calculation, right? Let's say I have 1,000,000 DPS, which is like obviously a moderately high investment build, especially for a league start. I'm going to do 16 ticks. Okay, it takes 0.75 seconds to cast this. Now, obviously, if I'm a caster, I probably have some cast speed. But if I'm using barrage and I'm using wand attacks, I don't have any cast speed. Okay, so it takes me 0.75 seconds to cast it. So if my DPS is 1,000,000 and I'm DPSing this thing for 1.5 seconds, I'm actually giving it 1.5 million damage, and I'm snapshotting 1.5 million damage into this thing. It's then going to take that 1.5 million damage, and then 1.6x of that is going to actually spit out 2.4 million damage. So in me casting Tornado for 0.75 seconds, I have managed to deliver 2.4 million damage, which kind of says it's like a 3 million damage ability. Wait, that's triple my base DPS. That doesn't sound right. Well, it's not quite right. So again, this cost me 3/4 second to cast it. So if I lose 3/4 of my 1 million DPS, that's 750k. Okay, so really, I'm gonna lose DPS because I'm casting the ability instead of attacking. What this guy's actually providing me is 1.6 million damage. Okay, that's pretty good, right? And that's what the minus column is now that I'm subtracting my Forsaken DPS. Okay, it's giving me 1.6 million damage. That's pretty good. Now, the total duration for this entire thing, right, is 6.25 seconds, right? I have to cast it for 3/4 second, it lives for 1.5, then it lives for 4. So over the course of 6.25 seconds total duration, it's actually giving me 264,000 damage per second. If I am casting Tornado every time it dies and I cast a new one repeatedly, I'm doing 26% more damage than before. That's really good for a 1-link that literally anyone can use with literally no investment. As long as you are a projectile skill, that's it. It's 26% more damage. Now, there's an asterisk, as long as your projectiles pierce or chain, because ultimately, if you are losing DPS on the boss, you're losing another 1.5 million damage, which, by the way, is still technically a little bit positive, right? If we subtract another 1.5 million damage from the minus column, it's worth 150,000. Yeah, I'd rather cast a curse at that point, so it's not very good. But hey, by the way, right? If you're gonna self-cast a tornado and you do pierce, like if you're Spectral Throw or Spectral Helix, or you've got pierce on your Kinetic Blast Barrage or whatever you're doing, great, right? Now you're in that spot. Okay. But then I thought about, okay, well, let's duration scale. And so the highlighted numbers, the 145, the 165, the 175 in the second to last column, that's using a more duration gem at level 1, at level 20, and at level 21 with 20 quality. Okay, technically it's level 1, level 21, level 20 with 20 quality, but I wanted clean numbers, so I, made it level 21. The numbers are going to be accurate kind of regardless, okay? So let's actually jump all the way down, zoom all the way down to that third red line, the 175% increased duration, which is like the 5th row of the spreadsheet. Okay, well, I do 1 million damage, but with an increased duration, I can now snapshot 2.6 seconds of DPS. I can snapshot 2.6 seconds of DPS. If I do that, it's going to live for 7 seconds. It's going to live for 7 seconds, doing 10% of the snapshot of damage 4 times a second, aka it's going to deliver 28 ticks. of this 10% damage, that's going to be a lot. So now my 2.6 million damage I fed it becomes 7.3 million damage over the course of Tornado. Again, it costs 3/4 seconds to cast the ability in the first place, so I'm really only gaining 6.6 million DPS, but, well, over the course of that 10.4 seconds of casting the tornado and ramping the tornado and the tornado dealing damage, well, I'm gaining 636,000 DPS, which is a 64% more damage modifier. So if I 2-link Tornado, I'm getting 64% more damage. And here is where that first column matters, okay? All the way back to the left-hand side, which is over there, you're seeing 7.6 hits per second cap. This is where the 20 hits comes in. You are not aiming for 20 hits over the course of the duration. You are plateaued at 20 hits over the course of the duration. Like, imagine you snapshotted a 10 billion damage Flame Blast. Do you care it only hit once? No, it's going to reflect 100 million damage and, okay, actually 1 billion damage. Right, like, who cares if it's hit once or 20 times? You care about the damage snapshotted, right? You do not care otherwise. But, okay, well, 7.6 hits per second, some builds are going to hit that, right? Some builds are really high attack speed. Again, they're using some kind of barrage support, or they're multi-hitting because of it going back and forth. This is a possibility in higher investment builds, especially if you're using things like, Vol Haste and whatnot. So this is where it gets a little concerning, right? Some builds, not all, but some builds are going to hit this, where if they attack more than 7 times per second, okay, well, you no longer get the full DPS here, which is why the lower investment increased duration stuff is valuable, right? You can tune your increased duration to the attacks per second you're going to hit, and there's kind of a follow-up possibility of like really mathing out the right amount. It's not important enough for this video. This is a more of a quick hit. We're gonna hopefully not go more than 6 minutes longer than this, and then we'll be done. Okay, but then I said, okay, what if we're gonna 3-link it? So the other duration gem that I can think of was Efficacy. Efficacy is not quite as good, but it's 15 to 35% increased duration with another same 10% at max quality. Again, I assumed a level 21 gem instead of level 20 gem because that's possible. So what if we max out an Efficacy gem? We have a 2120 Efficacy, and now we have 220% skill effect duration. Well, zoom all the way over to the far side, and now our attack cap is 6.1 hits per second. Now we probably are, getting into a weird spot. But hey, if that's not happening, right? If we're a projectile build that hits kind of slowly, then maybe it's not so bad. But if we really do have a lot going on here, we have, okay, 220% of the duration, it lasts for 3 seconds, it then blasts for 8.8 seconds, it's going to tick 35 times, it's going to deliver 11.5 million damage. After accounting for attack speed, that's still 10.8 million damage. It is an 84% more damage modifier. Now, the sort of blank column in the middle right there, that's just me dividing the two. So going from just maxed increased duration to maxed efficacy is only 12% more damage than before, and you're probably not even getting that because of the attack cap. You're not going to snapshot as much damage as you think, so the first half increased duration is wasted duration. It may still be worth it, but not clearly as big of an upgrade if you're running into that kind of cap. So then I thought, okay, what other things can we start to go after? And so we look at the bottom 3 columns. So this is going off of efficacy because I don't believe it's actually going to be valuable. I don't think it's actually going to be good enough. But what about increased cast speed? Like, what if we are an attack-based build, or we just happen to have 50% increased cast speed because we're a caster-based build? Okay, what are we getting out of that? What's the extra multiplier there? And so we're going to use the very, very bottom row, 150% increased cast speed, which again is 2120 faster casting. And, well, the initial numbers are all the same, right? 7.6 attacks per second is the cap. It lives for 2.6 seconds. It then deals damage for 7 seconds. It's 28 ticks. But because I only take half a second to cast it instead of 0.75 to cast it, I don't lose quite as much damage casting this ability, right? I only lose 500,000 DPS. And the total duration of doing the thing, instead of being 4 seconds, is 10.1 seconds. So the DPS is going to be more compressed. I'm losing less damage. It's 68% more damage instead of 64% more damage. So it's like, okay, faster casting is a 3% more damage modifier. It's not that big of a deal. It'll feel good, right? Not being locked in the cast animation is going to feel good, but it's not going to be that big of a deal, which means we can pretty safely 2 or maybe 3-link it. So then I thought about the final thing that I might use, which is increased AoE. So once again, I'm going to assume you don't have any increased AoE from your tree or your items in general. Yeah, that's going to be pretty rare, but whatever. We're just simplifying a little bit. So the way increased area works in the game is, functionally the radius is the square root of your increased AoE. So, okay, again, level 1 increased AoE is 30%, 40%, 50%. For a 2120 increased AoE gem, okay, I have 50% increased area. What does that give me? Well, it gives me 22% more radius. So in a world where I really was concerned about my tornado not keeping up with an enemy, Sirius is dancing around, or, whoever's dancing around, and I need to, get the tornado back there. Okay, well, if we're going to equate radius to exactly DPS, then, a 2120 increased AoE gem is going to be 22% more damage. Is that fair? Probably not, but like, Path of Exile is a difficult game. You can't spreadsheet it. So the final thought I was going to bring up, because I had something to say at the end of this and I don't remember what it was. Oh yeah, it is how the gem changed. So here are screenshots of the very first reveal of Tornado on pathofexile.com/scourge, and the second screenshot is of the one revealed a few hours ago, a couple dozen hours ago, whatever, on the main page. So the primary difference, actually, because they're still both spell, duration, physical, AoE, and orb gems, the cost isn't very different, the cast time isn't any different, and whatnot. The big thing is the base duration went from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds, which, like, by the way, like, that's, relevant, right? We're going to snapshot less damage overall, which makes it ultimately less punishing for high attack speed builds, but also less egregious of a modifier for most cases. Because if you weren't hitting 20 times in the course of 2 seconds, because not a lot of builds hit 10 times a second, especially fairly early in the league, this was a nerf. However, it has new text. It hinders enemies and it moves fast, which is useful. Because the tornado, by the way, if you read the text, the tornado chases enemies. It says it does that. So it chases enemies, it hinders them, which is new, and it has increased movement speed in some combination of quality and level. Because initially, if it wasn't going to chase enemies, it was going to move in a straight line, I was like, oh, we should level 1 this gem so it doesn't move too fast. But these are actually changes based on the fact that the gem got updates from the reveal to now. So it does seem like we want to put points in the tornado. The actual damage it deals does not go up, but I'm going to assume the hinder maybe goes up a little bit. I'm going to assume the movement speed goes up a little bit, which means it's going to heavily increase its hit rate. And the percent of damage that's actually going to deal. So Tornado is very much worth maxing out. 98 dex and 68 int is not that high. This feels like pretty reasonable for people to catch and fit into builds. And again, if you're a projectile-based build, you're looking at maybe 64% more damage. And it's probably only for bossing, right? I'm assuming you're probably only going to use it for your single target. But if you're a single target projectile build, and I'm assuming Tornado kind of needs you to deal damage with hits. Like, I don't know if it works well with ignites. Like, if you ignite your Tornado, is it going to snapshot 1.5x your ignite damage and then deal that? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. This is outside my understanding of the game. I don't know if it's going to technically absorb damage from Toxic Rain. I don't know. But again, the more you hit, you can eventually overcap this and lose out on damage. So it's for moderate speed builds. The one final thing I'm going to bring up is a more modifier that will not work with totem builds, because I'm pretty sure tornadoes and orbs count as you. If I'm wrong about that, then PogChamp, it's also good for totems. But if you're going to use Ice Spear totems and use Ancestral Bond, I'm pretty sure you can't use Tornado, which is actually exclusively the reason I'm not going to be a totem on League Start. I'm going to be Toxic Rain, and I'm going to go make an Instacker once I have enough money. And I'm going to use Tornado, and it's going to feel great. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope this is useful, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.